Did you know the same vitamins that promise to protect your body could quietly turn against your brain? Every morning, millions of older adults take their pills with faith and routine. They believe it's the right thing to do. But sometimes, what feels safe can be the very thing putting them at risk. Imagine going to sleep feeling completely fine, only to wake up unable to move your arm or say a single word. That's how a stroke steals your life, fast, silent, and devastating. As a brain doctor, I've seen it happen to people who never saw it coming. Strong men, sharp women, people who never missed a dose. They didn't make a mistake out of laziness, they made it out of trust. This isn't about fear, it's about awareness, because some vitamins, when taken in high doses or mixed with certain medications, can quietly increase your stroke risk by up to 22%. If you're over 60, this message could be the most important health wake-up call you hear today. Stay with me. Let's uncover the hidden danger inside that healthy little pill box. Walter was 74, a proud Navy veteran. He walked every morning, ate his greens, and never missed his vitamins. One of those was a high-dose vitamin D capsule, 10,000 IU. His doctor once mentioned bones, so Walter figured more was better. One morning, he collapsed. His wife found him on the floor, unable to speak. Stroke. When Walter finally opened his eyes in the hospital, he couldn't lift his right arm. The doctors said his blood vessels had become stiff. Too much calcium had built up, caused in part by years of overdoing vitamin D. Science backs this. A 2010 British Medical Journal study found that high doses of vitamins like D, E, B6, A, or niacin can disturb blood flow or damage vessel walls. This raises the risk of stroke, sometimes without any warning signs at all. For seniors, the danger is even greater. As we age, our bodies process vitamins more slowly. That means these substances build up, silently, inside the liver, in the blood, or in the brain. What starts as support becomes overload. It gets worse when mixed with common medications. Blood thinners, heart pills, and cholesterol drugs can interact with these vitamins, making your blood too thin, your arteries too stiff, or your pressure too unstable. And the hardest part? Many seniors think they're doing the right thing. They trust the bottle. The label says immune support or brain booster, and that sounds helpful. But the truth is, some of these support supplements carry hidden risks, especially when taken in megadoses. Walter isn't alone. There are thousands of stories just like his, people who wanted to stay healthy, but ended up facing something far worse. That's why it matters. Because a simple vitamin habit could be the quiet trigger behind the most devastating day of your life. Point 1. Vitamin D overdose risk. Walter stood at the kitchen counter, his hands steady as always, pouring himself a glass of water. He popped a small white capsule into his mouth. 10,000 IU of vitamin D. For strong bones, he mumbled, with a proud nod. For 5 years, it had been his routine. He never missed a dose. He never questioned it. His doctor once mentioned vitamin D during a quick visit years ago. Walter did his own research. Articles said it helped prevent fractures and boosted immunity. And as a retired Navy man, Walter liked doing things with discipline. More vitamin D meant more protection, right? One chilly morning, Walter didn't come down for breakfast. His wife June called out, then ran upstairs. He was still in bed, but something was wrong. His eyes were open, but he couldn't speak. One arm lay limp. The ambulance arrived in 8 minutes, but the stroke had already left its mark. In the hospital, a neurologist showed June the scan. His arteries are stiff. There's calcium buildup, likely years in the making. June was stunned. But he didn't eat junk. He walked. He took his vitamins religiously. That last part made the doctor pause. "Which vitamins?" she asked. High doses of vitamin D can do more than help bones. They can harden arteries, especially in older adults. Studies show doses over 2,000 IU daily may increase stroke risk by 17%, especially when taken long-term without monitoring. Walter had been taking 5 times that amount, daily. What made it worse, Walter never got his blood levels checked. He assumed vitamin D was harmless. After all, it wasn't a drug. It didn't need a prescription. But in the body, too much vitamin D causes calcium to enter the bloodstream, leading to deposits in places it doesn't belong, like arteries and the brain. Aging bodies process vitamin D differently. The kidneys slow down. The liver holds on longer. What feels like a healthy habit can become a slow, silent buildup. Walter had no symptoms until the morning his life changed in seconds. Doctors lowered his vitamin D intake immediately. He started therapy, struggling to lift a fork and pronounce simple words. His recovery was slow. June taped a note to the cabinet. Check labels, check doses, check blood. For those over 60, experts recommend sticking to 600 to 800 IU of vitamin D daily, unless a doctor prescribes more, and always get blood tests if you're supplementing. It's not about fear, it's about balance, awareness, and respecting how powerful even small pills can be. Walter's story became a message in his community. Don't let a vitamin do what a heart attack couldn't, he now says, smiling faintly as he squeezes a stress ball with his recovering hand. Point 2. Vitamin E and brain bleeds. Evelyn sat by the window every morning with her cup of green tea and a tiny golden capsule of vitamin E. She believed in routines, in keeping her memory sharp, her skin young, and her heart strong. She read online that vitamin E was a powerful antioxidant. So, she took 800 Dutail daily, 4 times the recommended amount. She also took warfarin, a blood thinner, prescribed after a mild heart condition. Her doctor warned her about interactions, but she didn't mention the vitamin E. It's just a vitamin, she thought. Natural, safe. No need to bother the doctor with that. At 81, Evelyn was sharp and independent. Crossword puzzles, cooking, hosting her friends every Thursday for cards and stories. But one Thursday, mid-laugh, she dropped her cards, clutched her head, and collapsed forward. The ambulance came fast, the emergency room faster. A brain scan showed a hemorrhagic stroke, a brain bleed. The doctors asked what medication she was on. Warfarin, yes, but when they found out she was also taking high-dose vitamin E, their faces changed. This could have tipped the scale, one said quietly. Vitamin E, especially in doses over 200 Dutail, can thin the blood. When combined with prescription blood thinners, the risk of internal bleeding, especially in the brain, increases dramatically. The antioxidant meant to protect Evelyn's heart may have helped trigger the stroke that changed her life. After surgery, Evelyn woke up slower than usual. Her speech slurred. She struggled to recall her daughter's name. The sharp, witty woman who once hosted game nights was now relearning how to use a spoon. Her daughter, Carla, stood by her side, holding the bottle of vitamin E with trembling hands. "I thought I was doing everything right," Evelyn whispered one morning, her eyes glossy. Carla gently replied, "You were trying to stay healthy, Mom. But even healthy things can become dangerous if we don't know how they really work." Doctors adjusted her medication. The vitamin E went in the trash. Her therapy began. With every slow step and word, Evelyn began to rebuild what the bleed had stolen. Not completely, but enough to return to card nights, now hosted by her granddaughter, who always sets an extra seat beside her. For most older adults, just 15 to 22 Dutails of vitamin E from food is enough. Almonds, sunflower seeds, spinach, nature already provides. And if you're on blood thinners, high-dose supplements can turn helpful habits into life-threatening risks. Evelyn's lesson wasn't about fear. It was about honesty, with herself, with her doctors, with her choices. Because sometimes what you don't say at the doctor's office can hurt you the most. Point 3. Vitamin B6 nerve damage. Harold used to be quick on his feet, both in conversation and on his morning walks. At 76, he prided himself on being sharper than most men his age. He loved puzzles, fixing clocks, and playing with his grandkids in the park. But when he started feeling tingling in his hands and feet, he didn't worry too much. Just getting older, he shrugged. Then the tingling turned to numbness. He began dropping things. Once, while pouring coffee, the mug slipped from his hand and shattered on the kitchen floor. His legs felt heavy, his steps unsure. When he finally went to the doctor, they ran tests: nerves, blood, brain. The scans came back clean. But one question changed everything. "Are you taking any supplements?" the neurologist asked. Harold nodded. "Just a nerve support vitamin I saw online. It's supposed to help the brain. Been taking it every day." The label said it had 200 milligrams of vitamin B6. Too much vitamin B6 can destroy the very nerves it claims to protect. While small amounts help the brain and metabolism, doses above 50 milligrams a day, especially over time, can cause nerve damage, weakness, confusion, and balance problems. Harold had been taking 4 times that amount, thinking more meant better. The doctor showed Harold a chart of symptoms: numbness, clumsiness, tingling, and he checked every box. It wasn't dementia, it wasn't aging, it was B6 toxicity. A silent attack on his nerves, slowly stealing his independence. Stopping the supplement was the first step. But nerve damage is slow to heal, if it heals at all. Harold had to go through months of physical therapy, learning how to trust his legs again. He used a cane at first, then walking poles. His puzzles took longer now, but he smiled through it. "At least I know what's going on," he'd say, determined not to be bitter. He kept the old bottle of nerve support on his desk, with a note taped to it: "Ask before you take." It reminded him and warned others who visited. His granddaughter once held it and asked, "This hurt you?" He nodded, replying, "Because I didn't know better, but now you will." Experts suggest older adults get only 2 to 10 milligrams of B6 a day, mostly from food, like bananas, tuna, or fortified cereal. Most people don't need extra unless a doctor says so. And if the supplement says brain or nerve support, check the label closely. Harold's story wasn't about a mistake. It was about how easy it is to trust something that looks helpful, but hides a risk beneath its shiny promise. Point 4. Vitamin A and brain pressure. Dorothy was 79 and proud of her independence. She still drove herself to church, did her own gardening, and never missed a day of her eye supplements. "Good vision means good freedom," she'd say, laughing with her daughter on the phone. Her daily routine included 1 small capsule of vitamin A, 10,000 ISU. She believed it kept her eyesight strong. But then the headaches started, sharp, sudden, and pulsing behind her eyes. At first, she thought it was stress, or maybe her glasses. Then her vision blurred. Once, while crossing the street, she couldn't tell if the light was red or green. Her balance wobbled. One morning she woke up dizzy and sick to her stomach. Her daughter rushed her to the emergency room. The doctors ran tests, thinking maybe a stroke or tumor. But the brain scan told a different story. There was swelling inside her skull. Not a tumor, not an infection. Intracranial pressure, the neurologist said. Something is making her brain swell. After reviewing her medications, they found the cause: too much vitamin A. Dorothy had been taking over 3 times the recommended daily limit for years. What she thought was helping her eyes had been slowly building up in her liver, causing toxic levels in her system. That buildup triggered brain swelling, something doctors call pseudotumor cerebri, a condition that mimics a brain tumor. Vitamin A is fat-soluble, which means it stays in the body much longer than water-soluble vitamins. In older adults, the liver can store excess amounts, especially when taken through high-dose supplements. Over time, this can lead to blurred vision, headaches, nausea, and even permanent damage to the optic nerves. Dorothy was lucky. The doctors caught it early. They stopped the supplement immediately and gave her medication to reduce the swelling. The headaches faded. Her vision returned to normal. She cried the day she was able to drive again, carefully, down her quiet street. After her recovery, Dorothy switched to getting her vitamin A from natural sources: carrots, sweet potatoes, spinach. "I trust my food now," she'd say. She even started a small backyard garden, growing her own vegetables with bright orange labels. "For my eyes, the safe way." Experts recommend no more than 2,500 to 3,000 ISU process of vitamin A per day for older adults. Many multivitamins already include that amount. Adding extra from eye or skin supplements can quietly push you into dangerous territory. Dorothy's journey wasn't about vanity. It was about trust. She trusted a label, not knowing it could harm her brain. But through it all, she found something stronger than supplements: knowledge, caution, and the will to grow back stronger. Point 5. Niacin, vitamin B3, and blood pressure spikes. Frank had always been a fighter. At 82, he still walked every morning, rain or shine. After surviving a heart attack 10 years ago, he made health his mission: no smoking, low salt, and supplements. His favorite? A heart health pill loaded with niacin, vitamin B3. The label promised lower cholesterol and better circulation. He took 2,000 milligrams daily without fail. For a while he felt great: energy, focus. Even his blood work looked good. But then, strange things started happening. He'd feel his face flush hot, like a wave of heat rushing through his body. Sometimes his heart would race while he sat still watching TV. One day, during his morning walk, he felt lightheaded. His legs buckled, and he sat down on the curb, sweating, dizzy, and confused. At the hospital, doctors ran tests. Not a full stroke, they said. Just a transient ischemic attack, a TIA, a mini-stroke. No lasting damage, but a loud warning. Frank was shaken. "I thought I was doing everything right," he said, gripping his hospital blanket. They reviewed his medications. The heart pills were fine, but when the doctor saw the niacin dosage, he frowned. "You're taking 2,000 milligrams of B3? Frank nodded. "It's for my heart." The doctor explained that while niacin can help with cholesterol, high doses, especially over 50 milligrams, can cause blood pressure spikes and vessel dilation. In older adults, that instability can trigger TIAs, blurred vision, or worse. Frank listened in silence. The same supplement he believed was saving his heart had nearly harmed his brain. He was stunned. Not angry, just deeply disappointed in himself for never asking questions. "I just wanted more time," he whispered. "More good years." They stopped the niacin. His blood pressure leveled out over the next few weeks. No more flushing, no more dizzy spells. But he stayed cautious, measuring his pressure twice a day, cutting back on all supplements except those approved by his cardiologist. He started reading labels with a magnifying glass. His son helped him make a food plan instead: walnuts, oats, beans, and salmon to support heart health naturally. "The niacin's in the food," Frank joked once, shaking a handful of peanuts into his salad. Experts agree, unless prescribed by a doctor, niacin should be limited to no more than 50 milligrams daily. And many heart-healthy supplements sneak in 500 to 1,000 milligrams per dose, far more than most seniors need. Frank's story isn't just about pills, it's about pressure. The pressure to stay healthy, to do everything right. But real health isn't about more, it's about smarter. And sometimes the strongest heart is the one that knows when to slow down and listen. Margaret, 73, used to have a drawer full of supplements: vitamin D, E, B6, niacin, eye support, heart pills. Each one promised energy, protection, and youth. But after her close friend collapsed from a stroke linked to vitamin overload, Margaret took a hard look at her own habits. She visited a new doctor who ran full blood work. Some of her levels were dangerously high. Not because of food, but because of those daily capsules. "You're overdosing on health," the doctor told her gently. It was a turning point. Margaret cleared out the drawer. She replaced pills with food. Eggs for brain support, berries for antioxidants, salmon twice a week for the heart, leafy greens for circulation, a handful of walnuts every day. She even started walking barefoot in the garden each morning for vitamin D from the sun. Within months, her energy returned. Her blood pressure stabilized. She slept better. And she didn't miss the pills one bit. "I feel human again," she said with a laugh. Health didn't come from bottles. It came from balance, nature, and knowing when less is more. If you're over 60, it's time to take a fresh look at what's in your pill box. Vitamins aren't always harmless. When taken in excess, they can quietly become the very thing that puts your brain, heart, and life at risk. Check your labels. Ask your doctor. Swap the megadoses for whole foods that your body understands. You don't need to fear vitamins. You just need to respect their power and know your limits. Start with one change. Maybe it's tossing a high-dose supplement. Maybe it's adding spinach or salmon to your dinner. The goal isn't perfection, it's protection. You're not too old to grow stronger, not too late to live wiser, and never too far from a better, brighter tomorrow. One smart choice at a time.